Doug.
Whoa, we move. We're in a parade. Everyone, customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. Customize and save.
And then I wake up.
And you have this dream every night?
Yeah, every night.
I see.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hey, Ratchets, look! I'm you!
Jake from State Farm. You couldn't find a stand-in who looked anything like me?
Have you seen mine? It's like looking in a mirror, right?
Now that one makes sense.
Look, guys, I don't even have a stand-in.
Of course you do.
Hold on. Is that Drake?
That's right. Drake from State Farm.
Like a good neighbor. Like a good neighbor. Stand-ins don't have lines.
Oh, okay.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The features you've been missing are waiting for you with Spotify Premium. Unlock ad-free music and unlimited skips on any device. Plus, download your music and listen offline. Even search and play exactly what you're looking for with On Demand. A world of premium is waiting. Come back to a better way of listening. Tap the banner to learn more.
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. They put their names on arenas, we put ours on my lower back. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. And if this were one of their ads, they'd end it here with a happy customer. So we'll end ours with an angry goat. Oh, look at the angry goat.
Hello, welcome. Dear listeners, for coming and listening to the Reports podcast. I'm your host, Megan Mack. In this episode, I listened to 2 news reports on human trafficking. This podcast will include some information that might be triggering for some. Viewers' discretion is advised. Before we begin, I would like to include the definition of human trafficking, which means the unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in form or forced labor or sexual exploitation. So, let's begin. The 2 films I will be using are from YouTube, and the channels are Fox News, which is Film 1, and Soft White Underbelly, which is Film 2.
Director at Love 146, Tamara Clark. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, a lot of people think of child trafficking, human trafficking, as something that happens in big cities, in urban areas, but that is not the case.
Not at all. Trafficking happens wherever there are people, right? And so in the state of Connecticut, trafficking happens everywhere. Our Survivor Care program, we serve youth all over the entire state, rural areas, in the suburbs, in the cities. It is not just something that happens on the Berlin Turnpike or the 95 corridor, which is...
In Film 2, which is Soft White Underbelly, will be about a girl named Carla, and she will explain her life story on how she got human trafficked.
I was very well known runaway by the police at that time. They knew me by name, and they picked me up one night in Texas City, and they asked me about this man that was in the car. And it turns out that the man that she had picked up that was in the car with us had just gotten out of prison for raping and killing a girl about my age and dropped her body off by the water, by the beach. And that's where we were actually heading. So I left her, I didn't interact with her anymore, but she taught me something on the streets, that nothing in life is free, especially for a runaway kid.
Human trafficking can happen anywhere and anytime to anyone, and all over the country, as you just heard from both videos.
But the reality is it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
So what do we as a community, specifically parents, what do we need to be aware of? What should we look out for?
At least by the age 13, and stopped going to school. I would actually go to school and tell all my friends everything that I was doing because I thought it was normal. And I quickly turned into the outcast. I was called all the names in the book, the slut, the whore, everything. So I felt all alone and I stopped going to school. So I lived on the streets, trading my body for the things that I needed until I was 14 and I found out I was pregnant.
When being trafficked, many things can happen, like getting pregnant or getting a disease that you may not want to have.
So there are a few indicators, and I'll list a couple of them. Just keep in mind that one of them just doesn't mean that a child is definitely being trafficked, but a few things that parents and caregivers should be thinking about and looking for is risky online behavior, frequently running away or missing from adult care, a new or older boyfriend or girlfriend, if your youth is in a controlling or abusive relationship. Even if they come home with new items that you didn't pay for, you have no idea how they pay for them. They have new hairstyle, new shoes. If they start to isolate a little more and are kind of not interested in age-appropriate activities. Those are a few things to be looking out for, but the main thing is that we need to be mindful and aware of changes that are happening with our youth.
And what type
of... And so I endured that for about 4 years until one day I came home from work because he wouldn't work. I came home from work and my son was telling me that his butt hurt. So I suspected that this man was sexually abusing my son while I was at work. And I decided to leave that day. I had all of our stuff packed. He wasn't there, and I got my son to my friend's house, and as I was getting the last little bit of my stuff, he showed up, and he told me right before trying to drown me in the bathtub that if he couldn't have me, nobody could.
Both of those stories are different, but both are very similar. When it comes to being trafficked, like in film 1, which is Fox News, it lists the things to look out for. And in film 2, which is Soft White Underbelly, Carla explains how it happened to her.
What kind of conversations should we be having with our kids? Depending on the age, it can be a very difficult conversation, difficult thing to bring up.
Absolutely.
Because these are very adult topics as far as what can happen.
Absolutely. But I think the thing we need to understand is that our young people know a lot more
than what we
like
to think that they do.
Right? And I think we need to have these conversations with them and start early. We shouldn't wait until high school. We shouldn't wait until middle school. I think we need to have conversations about online safety. Parents and caregivers, we have to do our research. We need to be aware of what apps, websites, gaming systems are on our youth phones and what are they using. Empower them to teach us how do we use them, and we should be aware of what the risks are. We should be having conversations with them ongoing, starting early, and not be afraid to just mess up and have the conversation. We have a few tools on our website at Level 46. One is geared toward young people and the creeps that are online, and we also have a caregiver guide. These tools can help parents to start those conversations.
And I called my husband, and I told my husband where I was at and what was going on. And in the middle of me telling my husband where I was at and what I was doing, I got messages from this man telling me that if I didn't come back, he was going to take my daughter, who was 5 years old at the time. He was going to do the same thing to her. So I told my husband goodbye, that I was going back to protect our daughter because I didn't know any other way to. I had a warrant out for my arrest, so there was no calling the cops. I didn't want to go to jail. I had been before, and to me that was like worse than what I was going through, even though it sounds, looking back, I'm like, why didn't I just call the cops? But that was where my mind was at. So I told my husband, no matter what, you protect my daughter. And this man started sending me pictures of where my daughter got on and off the bus.
These two stories will tell ways of how to communicate well or before being trafficked, even though Film 2 told Carla's communication skills differently, while Film 1 told you what to do. And I think everyone should really listen, especially if you know anyone in this situation.
And what should someone do if they are concerned, if they think that there's been a red flag raised? Or maybe if they think even that they've witnessed something.
Right. I think the National Human Trafficking Hotline number is a great place to start. Their website is also very helpful for education. If you really are concerned about some trafficking, you could call the DCF Care Line. Make sure to say that you're talking about human trafficking versus abuse or neglect. If a child is missing, definitely call law enforcement. Another agency to connect with is the National, I think it's a Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I think their website is missing.org.
Tell us a little bit more about.
So my husband did the smartest thing he could have done, and he called the police. And DPS started a case and tried to find me of where I was at, where my location was at. They could tell from my text messages and our conversation that I was not a willing participant.
Film 2 goes into detail for you to help someone in need and to know what to do if you know someone who needs help. Especially the websites she pointed out can get you the help anyone needs. In Film 2, Carla explains her husband tries to help her so she can protect her daughter. Both of these stories explain how you can help someone in need.
Exploited children. I think their website is missing.org.
Tell us a little bit more about Love 146 as far as the interventions that you do.
So Love 146, we're an international human rights organization, and so we are one of the very few organizations that are working with youth who are trafficked globally and locally. And so we work towards ending trafficking in kind of 3 specific ways: awareness raising, having conversations like this, working with volunteers to get involved in their community and bring awareness. We also have prevention education. We have a curriculum that works with youth to help protect themselves against trafficking and exploitation through critical thinking, information sharing, and skill development. And then we also have survivor care. We have survivor care happening in the Philippines. We have 2 group homes, well, not group homes, safe homes, one for boys and one for girls. We have survivor care happening in the UK, and that is really working with youth who are being trafficked into the UK.
From other countries all over the world.
From other countries. That's what it looks like there.
Yeah.
And then for the U.S., we have our Connecticut Survivor Care Program. So we're just based in Connecticut. Our headquarters for Love 146 is in New Haven. And so our Connecticut program works alongside youth. We work with them on skill development, counseling, connecting them to needed resources and support, and also how to navigate the systems that they're kind of working with in the
A few days after that happened, I was walking out of the same hotel, and DPS just rushed me. And I remember dropping all of my stuff on the ground because he was about to move us to another location. I dropped everything and just collapsed on the floor, and I told DPS, I said, "You guys just saved my life."
Both of these reports talk about who can help you. Like in the first film talks about how Love 146 can be involved. And in Film 2, Carla talks about how DPS can get involved and help. Both of these organizations are real and can help. Also, DPS is an organization in Texas, but also Love 146 has charities in 36 different states, including Texas. If you know anyone who's being trafficked or has been, don't be scared to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, a national 24-hour free hotline. Call 1-888-373-7888 to report. Again, call 1-888-373-7888 or text Be Free 233-733. Again, Be Free 233-733. Thank you for listening to the Reports podcast, and I hope you viewers join me next time for our next episode.